Patrick Swayze spent a lifetime captivating the world, the smoldering rebel in Dirty Dancing, the aching romantic in Ghost, and even People magazine's Sexiest Man Alive in 1991. But behind the charm and the star power was a man fighting harder than anyone ever realized. In his final years, as cancer slowly stole his strength, Patrick held on to something far more powerful than fame. A message he wanted the world to hear. A message he shared just before he passed, one that still brings people to tears today. This video uncovers the truth behind Patrick Swayze's final days, and the heartbreaking last words that reveal who he really was when the spotlight faded. Patrick's final years. By late 2007, while filming the intense crime drama The Beast, where he played an FBI agent who often crossed ethical lines, Patrick Swayze began feeling a deep, burning pain in his stomach. At first, he tried to push through it, but the discomfort grew impossible to ignore. When he finally went to see a doctor, the diagnosis was devastating: pancreatic cancer. His bile ducts were blocked, causing the sharp pain that had been following him for weeks. The moment news of his illness leaked, the media pounced. Headlines exploded, speculation ran wild, and anonymous sources claimed he had only days to live. Patrick was deeply frustrated. This was the most vulnerable moment of his life, and yet strangers were inventing stories about his body, his treatment, and his chances of surviving. He publicly asked for privacy and repeatedly denied the more sensational rumors, including false claims that he had undergone major stomach surgery or was already on his deathbed. Even while fighting for his life, Patrick used whatever strength he had left to support cancer research. He knew his fame gave him a platform many others didn't have, and he wanted something good to come from his suffering, for a good cause. In 2008, Patrick Swayze stepped onto the stage of the very first Stand Up to Cancer telethon, determined to use what time he had left for something meaningful. He delivered a heartfelt speech about living with cancer, the fear, the fight, and the hope that future patients might face a gentler road. His words were raw and deeply human, and when he finished, the entire room rose to its feet. The standing ovation said everything. People were moved not just by his fame, but by his courage. Despite the brutal reality of his diagnosis, Patrick tried to remain optimistic. He was undergoing chemotherapy and a mix of aggressive treatments, and for a while they seemed to be working. By the end of the year, he shared that the treatments were holding steady. Doctors who initially gave him only weeks to live were astonished. 6 months later, he still appeared strong, determined, and full of fight. Fans clung to the hope that he might defy the odds entirely, a turn for the worse. But by early 2009, Patrick's condition began to decline. He publicly insisted that he still believed in his chances, yet privately acknowledged that the cancer had become more aggressive. In January, he was hospitalized with pneumonia, a serious complication for someone in his condition, though he recovered enough to return home a week later. Even so, the disease continued its relentless spread. After nearly 2 years of battling with extraordinary strength, Patrick Swayze passed away on September 14, 2009, surrounded by those who loved him most. Swayze's last words. Patrick Swayze spent his final days at one of the places he loved most, his family's ranch in California. But those moments were far from peaceful. According to a close friend, he looked painfully fragile, thin, injured, and clearly suffering as the cancer continued to take its toll. Just before he slipped into a coma, his wife, Lisa Nemi, held his hand and whispered that she loved him. Patrick managed to answer with the last words he would ever speak: "I love you." In her memoir, Worth Fighting For, published after his death, Lisa wrote that she never left his side during those final hours. Even after he lost consciousness, she spoke to him, played music for him, and slept with her head resting on his shoulder, refusing to let him go alone. Since his passing, Lisa has dedicated herself to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, working tirelessly to raise awareness and support research in hopes of sparing others from the pain she and Patrick endured. Patrick's enduring legacy. Patrick Swayze always dreamed of becoming a father, and he wrote candidly about that longing in his memoir, The Time of My Life. He admitted that not having children was one of his greatest regrets. He had imagined himself as a dad for as long as he could remember, hoping to be the kind of loving, steady father that his own dad had been to him. He believed there would be time for that dream to unfold, but life didn't give him that chance. Even so, Swayze left behind a legacy far larger than he ever realized. His determination to keep working, even while battling a devastating diagnosis, continues to inspire countless people facing their own fights with cancer. His resilience, discipline, and grace under pressure showed the world what true strength looks like. Of course, Patrick will also be remembered for the unforgettable roles he brought to life. Dirty Dancing, for example, remains one of the most iconic films of the 1980s, earning awards, a Grammy-winning soundtrack, and a devoted fan base that followed him until the end. Through films like Ghost, Point Break, and so many others, his impact on pop culture is permanent. In the end, Patrick Swayze wouldn't want the world to dwell on the pain of his final days. Yes, his passing was heartbreaking for those who loved him, but his life, rich with art, passion, kindness, and undeniable talent, is what deserves to be celebrated. Let's take a look back on his prolific life, career, and pay him the respect that he most assuredly deserves. Early life. Patrick Swayze grew up in a middle-class family where the arts were treated as a daily discipline, not a pastime. His mother, Patsy Swayze, was a respected choreographer who ran her own dance school, and under her strict training, he studied ballet from an early age. By his teenage years, his life revolved around dance classes, theater rehearsals, and hours at the gym, unknowingly building the foundation for the career that awaited him. After graduating from Waltrip High School in Houston, he attended San Jacinto College Central before moving to New York in 1972 to sharpen his skills at the Harkness Ballet School and the Joffrey Ballet School. He performed as Prince Charming in Disney on Parade and later joined Broadway as the understudy for Danny Zuko in Grease. Every stage job became both a learning experience and a test of endurance, one he never complained about. Swayze made his film debut in Skate Town, USA in 1979, though the movie gained little traction. His real breakthrough arrived in 1983 with The Outsiders, where he played Daryl Curtis. The film grossed over $33 million and marked the moment audiences truly began to notice him. But the defining shift came in 1987, when he was cast as Johnny Castle in Dirty Dancing. Originally a small, low-budget project, it exploded into a global phenomenon, grossing over $214 million. The final dance with Jennifer Grey, set to I've Had the Time of My Life, became one of the most iconic scenes in movie history. The film went on to sell more than 1 million video copies, a record for its time. Swayze also co-wrote and performed She's Like the Wind, a song he first wrote for another project but later used in Dirty Dancing. It reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and topped charts internationally. His ability to act, dance, and sing at such a high level made him a rare force in late 80s Hollywood. Fame followed quickly. Magazine covers, a Golden Globe nomination, and in 1991, People magazine's title of Sexiest Man Alive. Despite all the attention, Swayze never lost his discipline. Friends remembered him as the first to arrive on set, the last to leave, and someone who never demanded special treatment. In 1997, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 718 Hollywood Boulevard, a tribute to more than 2 decades of dedication to his craft. Cultural icon. By the early 1990s, Patrick Swayze had become a rare kind of movie star, famous enough to draw huge box office numbers, yet distinctive enough to avoid blending in with Hollywood's many leading men. As his popularity grew, he continued choosing roles that challenged him emotionally and artistically, pushing him toward the status of a lasting cultural icon. After the massive impact of Dirty Dancing, Swayze refused to settle into safe or predictable roles. His next major turning point came with Ghost, 1990, where he played Sam Wheat, a murdered man who returns as a spirit to protect the woman he loves. The film became the highest-grossing movie of 1990, earning over $505 million worldwide. Its pottery wheel scene with Demi Moore became an instant cinematic classic, and the role brought Swayze his second Golden Globe nomination. He then shifted gears into action with Point Break, 1991, playing Bodie, a charismatic and rebellious surfer who clashes with an FBI agent portrayed by Keanu Reeves. The film, now a cult favorite, allowed Swayze to show a rugged philosophical side that few actors of his era could match. In 1995, he shocked and impressed audiences by starring as Vida Boheme, a drag queen, in To Wong Foo, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. It was a bold role for its time, one that carried image risks, but Swayze embraced it wholeheartedly and earned his third Golden Globe nomination for his performance. Even outside mainstream hits, Swayze continued proving his range. In the cult classic Donnie Darko, 2001, he played motivational speaker Jim Cunningham, a seemingly uplifting figure hiding dark moral contradictions. Though his role was small, critics praised his performance, and the film went on to become one of the most influential independent films of the early 2000s. No gimmicks. Patrick Swayze never needed tricks or tabloid headlines to stay relevant. His willingness to take on unconventional, emotionally rich roles kept his appeal strong even when he wasn't constantly on the big screen. Critics admired him deeply. Roger Ebert praised him as an actor who could touch the viewer's emotions and command the frame with a single look. Janet Maslin of the New York Times noted that he brought credibility even to the most unlikely roles. Swayze's charm didn't rely on flash. He avoided unnecessary publicity, stayed clear of scandals, and kept his private life tightly guarded. Colleagues described him as disciplined and relentlessly hard-working, the kind of actor who trained even when cameras weren't rolling. Jennifer Grey, his Dirty Dancing co-star, said in the 2024 documentary, I Am Patrick Swayze, Patrick took every scene seriously, even the dance sequences that felt simple. He respected the audience in everything he did. Demi Moore echoed that sentiment, saying, Patrick didn't act to be famous, he acted to live truthfully inside his characters, and you could feel it every second. Love with the one woman who never left. Behind the fame was a man who guarded one part of his life with absolute devotion, his love for Lisa Niemi. In a town known for short-lived romances, their relationship stood out as one of Hollywood's rare constants. They met in 1970 at his mother's dance studio, when Lisa was 14 and Patrick was a young teaching assistant. 4 years later, they began dating, and on June 12, 1975, they married. For the next 34 years, Lisa was his partner in every sense, collaborator, confidant, and the person who stood by him through every triumph and every struggle. Together, they built a life intentionally removed from Hollywood noise, choosing privacy, stability, and each other above all else. A horse ranch. Patrick Swayze and Lisa Niemi built a quiet sanctuary together, a 5-acre horse ranch near the Angeles National Forest in New Mexico. There, they bred Arabian horses and competed in equestrian events, but for Swayze, the ranch meant something deeper. He once said, When I'm not working, I just want to ride horses, fix fences, and live like a regular guy. Out there, I'm not a star. Lisa was more than his life partner. She was also his creative collaborator. In 2003, she directed One Last Dance, a film inspired by their shared dance background. Swayze starred in it and co-wrote the script with her. Though the film saw only a limited release, it reflected the harmony they shared both on screen and off. Swayze often said that Lisa was the inspiration behind She's Like the Wind, his hit from Dirty Dancing. They once hoped to have children, but after Lisa suffered a miscarriage, they decided not to try again. Still, their bond never weakened. Swayze said on the Oprah Winfrey Show, "We don't need children to know we're a family. We are everything to each other." A healthy lifestyle. Life wasn't always peaceful for Swayze. After losing his father in 1982, he began drinking heavily, partly from grief and partly from the pressure of fame. His alcoholism strained their marriage at times, but Lisa stayed by him, helping him regain stability. By the mid-1990s, Swayze voluntarily entered rehab and rebuilt his life with healthier habits. He turned to meditation, spiritual reading, and practices ranging from Soka Gakkai Buddhism to transcendental meditation. Friends described Patrick and Lisa as inseparable. They had private nicknames for each other, always held hands at events, and preferred quiet nights at home to Hollywood parties. In her memoir, Worth Fighting For, Lisa wrote, "Nothing made Patrick happier than coming home, riding horses, cooking, and watching TV with me. He loved ordinary life more than anything." Hollywood insiders often called their relationship old-fashioned. No scandals, no separations, just a steady, devoted marriage. Even after Swayze was named People magazine's sexiest man alive, Lisa remained the only woman he ever chased. When asked what kept them together for nearly 40 years, Patrick answered simply, "We always chose to move closer to each other, even when everything felt like it was falling apart." "Love is an action," he once said. "Not just a feeling, but even the strongest love can't stop what none of us can control." In 2008, when Patrick Swayze received the devastating diagnosis that would shake the world, it was Lisa Niemi who stood beside him through every painful moment that followed, never letting go. Patrick Swayze's final days were filled with pain, but also with the same unwavering love and courage that defined his entire life. Even in his weakest moments, surrounded by the woman who had stood by him for 34 years, he managed to speak the words that revealed exactly who he was: gentle, loyal, and devoted until the very end. His last, "I love you," wasn't just for Lisa. It was a message that continues to echo in the hearts of the millions who admired him. What about you? Which moment from Patrick Swayze's life has stayed with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more moving stories about Hollywood's most unforgettable legends, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Until next time.